Hey everybody, welcome back to another new episode of Eyes Open Podcast, because once you see it,
you can't unsee it.
I'm your host, Richard Thomas.
I'm Amber Nordstrom.
And we want to wish you a happy new year. We hope that you had a great time at Christmas time, and we know that you celebrated hard going into this new year, knowing that we're about to have a better economy, a better presidential administration, and just hitting it right out the gate. We're going to talk about some major changes that have come and some major tragedies that have happened ever since Donald J. Trump became the president-elect of the United States. And we knew it was coming.
Yeah, they weren't going to go down without a fight.
No, we knew that the deep state and all of their pawns, and literally the Democratic Party, which is the pawn of the deep state, and all of the mass media, they were going to go on attack mode.
Wreak havoc.
And so it was like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here it is.
Yep.
And so right after President Donald Trump landswept the nation with a presidential election, and on his night where they announced it and he came out with his family, I remember, I think you and I were texting and we were like, here it comes. Here, just give it some time. By morning, something's going to pop off. And sure enough, within a matter of days, things began to pop off all over the nation.
Yeah.
Mass shootings. I know in New York, in Texas, here in Beaufort, Georgia, there was a shooting. It was like sequentially, things started popping off. And then in California, all of the widespread devastation in the Pacific Palisades, where everything in the Pacific Palisades burned down. People's homes that they had lived in for 30 years, celebrities' homes, some strategic people who happened to be connected to Epstein Island, their homes and probably all of their evidence.
Hiding evidence.
Burned down to the ground. And you have the mainstream media once again carrying the narrative that this was just a wildfire, when in reality, we know that there is no happenstance in this nation.
And the Mockingbird got their orders, so they're just mocking.
Yeah, that's right. And censorship was at an all-time high this past week. For the past 6 months, I've kind of, in my own social media platforms, I was able to dodge the censorship. And then I had a few videos pertaining to the fires go viral into 3 million views. And then all of a sudden, all the fact checkers came out of the woodwork to fact check photos coming out of California and the narrative behind what we would say controlled burning. Meaning that the elites are burning down property, sections of California, to install a smart city.
Well, and they're choosing them. They're choosing where.
Yeah.
We all remember Maui.
Yeah.
We've all talked about on this podcast what happened up in the Carolinas.
Yeah.
Like, they pick their plots.
They do.
They pick their plots.
They do.
And we just witnessed another one, unfortunately.
Yeah. So before we even get on the topic of what's going on in California, we've got a lot of video footage we're going to show you. In this first episode, I kind of want to talk about what Zuckerberg just recently did. Right around the time before we elected President Trump, Trump was obviously running his mouth on social media again, on his platform, on Truth. And I believe the statement he made, Amber, was that, if any of the social media platforms, if we can prove that they were caught in election interference, that they would serve jail time.
Trump said that.
Trump said that on his Truth platform.
Yeah.
And he specifically named Zuckerberg, Mark Zuckerberg. He said, if you were found guilty of swaying the public in the 2020 elections, and they already have the evidence. Trump is saying that because he knows he has the evidence. He's not just speaking off the cuff. That they will, his Justice Department, that will be led by, who's leading the Justice Department? Do you know?
Well, I thought it was Kash.
Well, Kash Patel is leading the FBI, but he's got somebody else that's going to be leading that. And then, of course, the Attorney General is Pam Bondi, and she is a bulldog when it comes to the law. So his team is going to look at all of these cases, and they're going to prosecute. So weeks after he made that post, obviously that got back to Mark Zuckerberg, and Mark Zuckerberg asked to meet with Donald Trump.
He saw the writing on the wall.
He did. He knew he was in trouble.
Tail tucked between his legs. Here he comes.
If you follow the timeline, shortly after Zuckerberg met with Trump, he took to social media and changed their entire meta policy. And so everybody's been talking about this past week in the new year, Zuckerberg going live and literally backpedaling, talking about how they were wrong at Meta for 2016 on, and he began to blame shift everybody.
And mind you, he's only doing this because they lost.
Yeah.
Had they won, it'd have been worse. He'd have been kept up them shenanigans.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh boy, we doggone lost big, and I better come up with a plan. So here he is, rewriting all of Meta.
Well, see, the Democrat Party has always projected what they really are. They want to push onto the Republicans. And I'm not saying that the Republicans are by all means, noble.
Yeah, we're not perfect.
Or, there are good Republicans.
Yes.
There are good conservatives. And I even believe that there are some Democrats out there that mean well.
Good values.
But a lot of the leadership between the Republican and the Democratic Party, between the two, the Democrats push for actual fascism while projecting fascism onto the Republican Party.
Yep.
So they're like, you're the fascist, but I'm like, if you really look at the policies of the Democratic Party and the platform of Kamala Harris, the current regime with Biden, they themselves pushed for censoring of free speech. They themselves pushed for more government regulation, whereas the Republican Party was asking for less government, more free speech, more enterprise.
They themselves above the law, but all of us got to pay the biggest price.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's funny how if you look at Biden saying the whole time he was in office, he's not going to pardon his son, knowing that his son and himself were at the helm of a lot of controversy. And then all of a sudden, at the last minute before he leaves our office, he's pardoning his son for crimes that he knows he's involved in. He's trying to preemptively pardon people that haven't been officially indicted and should be, like Fauci.
I know.
Like Nancy Pelosi, like Hillary Clinton. And by them taking these pardons, they're saying to the public, hey, we're guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't need a pardon if I'm not guilty.
Correct.
I'll stand on justice and know that I didn't do it.
I'm surprised he doesn't try to pardon Zuckerberg because they
all
all
got
know
a few
that,
days.
Yeah, they all know that Zuckerberg, he's got 7 days and counting, 6 days and counting. And Zuckerberg knows he's in trouble.
Yeah.
The fact that he went, and the fact simply saying that when Justin Castro, Fidel Castro's illegitimate son, he came down from Canada and just met with Trump a few weeks ago, and just 72 hours after meeting with Trump, he resigned.
Can you imagine? Yeah. What is going on?
Yeah.
It's like the Trump tornado.
Everybody's scared of Trump, and they should be. So let's start this podcast off with Zuckerberg's Facebook Live. Listen to this.
Hey, everyone. I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content.
Yeah.
But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1%
to do exactly what they're supposed to do.
That's millions of people.
AI doesn't make
mistakes. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship.
Okay, that's a confession.
The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech.
Oh, really?
So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms.
Wouldn't that be nice?
More specifically,
yeah, absolutely.
Here's what we're going to do.
Censored in the first place.
First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X,
which,
starting in
by the way, is still going to be fact checking.
After Trump first got elected in 2016,
well, because
the legacy media
works.
wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far.
Literally,
so I want to make sure
shutting down conservatives,
share their beliefs
and science and data, especially with the hokey
platforms.
pokey.
Yeah.
Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our
mistakes.
platforms.
These were choices that they made
We used to
at
have
Meta
filters
to
that
censor
scanned for
people
any
and
policy
narratives
violation.
that went against
Now,
the
we're going to
government's
focus
general
those
narrative.
filters on tackling illegal and high-severity violations. And for lower-severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. The problem is that the filters make mistakes, and they take down a lot of content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back,
content.
we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on
Just
our
one
platforms.
side. Oops.
Yeah.
We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down. Fourth, we're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed, so we stopped recommending these posts. But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again.
Yeah,
So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and
We follow
Threads
who we follow
while
for a
working
reason.
to keep the communities
It's about
friendly
the
and
discourse.
positive.
Yeah.
Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas.
Because
As
that
we
will
work
make a
to
difference.
promote
Not
free
leadership, just the
expression,
state.
I think that it will help
called
us
tax
build
breaks.
trust to do this
They
work
can't-
in
they can't
places
afford
where
to
there is
stay
less
in
concern about the
California.
bias
Say
of our
that.
teams.
Yeah.
Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on
Yeah,
governments around the
we're in
world
trouble.
that are
Because
going
we
after
have to
American
jail.
companies and pushing to censor more. The U.S. has the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world.
It does.
May we keep
Europe
it.
has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship
Right.
and making it difficult to build anything innovative there. Latin American countries have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down. China has censored our apps from even working in the country. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government. And that's why it's been so difficult over the past 4 years when even the US government has
Now
pushed
he's
for
outing
censorship.
them.
By going after us and other American companies,
poor
it
him.
has emboldened other
Poor him.
governments to go even further.
Choices.
But
Let's
now we have
deflect.
the opportunity to restore free expression, and I am excited to take it.
Are you excited?
It'll take time to get this right, and these are complex systems. They're never
Are
going to
they?
be perfect. There's also a lot of illegal stuff that we still need to work very hard to
Yeah,
remove.
Zuck, like
But
child
the bottom
pornography.
line
Golly.
is
Like
that after
pedophile
years of
groups
having
that
our
have
content
hundreds of
moderation
thousands of
work
members.
focused
Ugly.
primarily on
Yeah, you didn't
removing
censor
content,
those people.
it is time to focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our systems, and getting back to our roots about giving people voice.
Sounds
I'm looking
like
forward to
that.
this next chapter. Stay good out there, and more to come soon.
Yeah. Basically, we shall see. Time will tell. Zuckerberg. Time will tell. Here's what we think, and I just said it earlier. You know, you were threatened by President Trump
That's right.
with a possible term
Heavy
in prison
sentence.
because of your choice to censor Republican speech, medical free speech. Doctors were censored during the pandemic.
Yes.
We watched doctors who were questioning the narrative about the hokey pokey, and they were right to question it. Now we're seeing the effects of the widespread misinformation about the hokey pokey, and by hokey pokey we mean vaccine. And people literally died, Zuckerberg, because they
Yes,
didn't
they
get their
did.
hands on
Real treatments.
real treatments.
Actual
Yeah.
treatments.
Yeah, I saw posts that I did and posts that other medical professionals did about hydroxychloroquine and the use of ivermectin taken down because it went against the government narrative.
Yep.
It went against, the mainstream American Medical Association, which was in bed with the pharmaceutical companies to push the Pfizer, the Moderna, hokey pokey, and what was the other one? AstraZeneca. And so you have this major corrupt system, and Zuckerberg is backpedaling because he knows he's in trouble. He knows that in the 2020 elections, not only did he donate more money to the Democratic Party, that was proven because it was on record,
Receipts.
but anybody that spoke against the January 6th narrative, anybody that spoke against the Trump his statements about, the election fraud, which there was so much evidence that we saw about the election fraud. I got censored, and I was reporting the news with Citizen First News, and we got censored consistently. And on YouTube, a majority of the videos that we did behind the news desk were taken down due to community violations. I'm like, you mean telling the truth that the election in 2020 was fraudulent?
Yep.
And that we had more than enough evidence, but because the system wanted a narrative that, there was no fraud in 2020, Trump just lost.
The guy in the basement won.
Right.
Hands down, he won.
The Alzheimer's patient that never came out, never, campaigned. And when he did, he had 300 people to a rally where Trump would have 30,000 people to a rally.
With short notice.
But yet they tried to spin a narrative that he won 81 million votes, 11 million more than Barack Obama. And Zuckerberg, you were at the helm of it.
Yes.
You have the largest platform.
That's right.
In the world. You're bigger than any other platform. You're bigger than Twitter. You're bigger than YouTube. You're bigger
Especially
than Telegram. Then. I mean, with billions of users. And we get it in other countries. China doesn't want you saying stuff. Well, that's their government.
Right.
And, but here in America, we have a constitutional right for free speech.
Yes.
And you yourself were questioned many, many times before Senate and Congress. And people like Jim Jordan and Matt Gaetz targeted you specifically to get you to confess, and you did, that the government was telling you before with Barack Obama to begin the censorship process. Mm-hmm. And when Trump got in 2016, now you're backpedaling and you're confessing and saying, hey, the mainstream media and Biden's administration, when he got in, pushed you to basically censor Americans from their free speech. And when Jim Jordan questioned you, Zuckerberg, that, is this a platform or a town square? There's a little bit of legal speech in their documents for Meta of how they're formed, because if it's a private publishing company, they can censor free speech, but if it's an open forum, they can't.
Right.
And Zuckerberg said, no, we're not a publishing company. We are an open forum. But therefore, he violated the open forum laws. Literally, there are laws on the books where you cannot censor free speech, and he went and did it. And now that President Trump is back in office and is
caught
threatening repercussions for what you did, you're now backpedaling. And I will be one of the voices, and I know you will be too, that there should be repercussions for the crimes that were committed.
Have to be. Have to be.
I know people that didn't get the correct information, and they made a medical choice with their body that they shouldn't have, and now they are deathly ill. And I put responsibility on platforms like YouTube and like the previous owner of Twitter. He should go to jail, not Elon Musk. He bought it and tried to make it a free speech platform. But these people, these oligarchs,
have to have consequences.
They have to go to jail. They have to go to jail, or at minimum, Meta should be fined billions of dollars.
And then who gets it? Us, the families that were. I mean, it's just like, I'm so tired of a two-tiered justice system.
Right.
Because, here we are, law-abiding citizens, tax-paying citizens, all these things we're told we're supposed to do, but yet they're running amok above the law, and they're just like getting away with it? Yeah. No. Yeah. Like, President Trump, hear me. Yeah. We have got to start locking people up. We have to. And think about the people who went on January 6th, and they were just there. Yeah. They weren't even in the shenanigans. Caught at the wrong place, wrong time, maybe, but not a part of the shenanigans. Yes. And how many years in jail did they spend? Some of them. 4. And how was their lives wrecked? Some of them. Like, stop the nonsense. It can't just be me and my side that gets ramifications. It needs to be equal justice for all.
Right. I remember the story of an 80-year-old, 75-year-old woman that was from Colorado, and she just wandered into the Capitol after they had opened the doors. The Capitol Police had opened the doors. They were magnetically locked doors. They hit the button on the inside, opened it up, and were welcoming people in. The video footage, I'll play the video footage. You can see right now on the video cam that they were welcoming people in, and she wandered in, but she got caught on the security camera because she didn't have a mask. They found out where she was, who she was, with their facial recognition software. The government went after her and they arrested her, and she went to jail.
What a crock.
And I think and her son served in the Army, and I think he had the Purple Heart. He won many awards. And so her son served as a vet. She wandered in the Capitol and was wandering around, elderly, and they locked her up. Now, if
not with a vengeance, just aimlessly. They opened the doors, she entered.
And might I add, nobody went into the Capitol with arms.
Right.
Nobody had armed. Nobody was armed. They should have been, in my opinion, but they weren't. This was not an insurrection, but these people served time under the Biden administration, not to mention them targeting every single person in Trump's circle, like Rudy Giuliani. Today, Rudy Giuliani has a mugshot. Roger Stone has a mugshot.
Houses raided, lawsuit
in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night. So Trump, you have a mandate to not only fix the economy, but
President
you
Trump.
went after
Your
all
people.
of your people.
Circle.
You promised people that you would lock these criminals and drain the swamp.
Lock them up.
You have a mandate to lock these people up.
Lock them up.
Biden's son needs to go to jail. Fauci needs to go to jail. Dare I say, on this platform, Mark Zuckerberg either needs to be fined billions of dollars by the government or he needs to serve time in jail. The former platform Twitter owner, he needs to go to jail because he was complicit in the crimes against the constitutional rights of the United States American citizens. And the head, whoever the head of YouTube is, needs to go to jail. Google, the head, the CEO of Google, needs to go to jail.
Even if they've resigned, by the way, because a lot of these CEOs have started to resign in the past few years for some reason.
And they think resignation
is going to exempt them.
From their decisions. People in the elite circles have to pay the price for going to Epstein Island, has to pay the price. I don't care if you sit in the halls of Congress or in as a senator or a congressman or woman. If you went to Epstein Island and you participated in illegal transactions with underage women, if you were part of the raping groups that would rape women and young boys, you need to go to jail.
Yes.
And you need to sit in jail. And some of you, dare I say, deserve the death penalty. It is time. The pendulum has swung. The public has spoken. We are tired of censorship. We are tired of people like Nancy Pelosi being able to insider trade as long as she's in government as a Speaker of the House and make millions of dollars when any one of us, if we were to insider trade, we'd be put away for 25 years to 50 years in prison.
Life would be over.
Yeah, Bernie Madoff.
And they wouldn't blink an eye.
Bernie Madoff on Wall Street, he went to jail for his Ponzi scheme and insider trading. If he can go to jail, Nancy Pelosi, you can go to jail. Chuck Schumer, you can go to jail.
And I don't think there's good alcohol in jail.
You can go to jail.
Oops.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, I know I'm on my high horse, but just because Zuckerberg, you're backpedaling now and it's cool to get on the Trump train, you're too little too late. You're a little late to this party. You should have started changing your policy when you had the opportunity. You should have kicked back.
You should have never let your policy go awry. You knew what you were doing, and you let it go on for far too long. Millions of people were affected. And because those millions were affected, million more are now affected. Inexcusable.
Yeah, they really are part of the programming problem in this country where media and social media alike is programming the masses to believe lies that are not true. They weren't true about Trump. They are not true about Christians. They're not true about conservatives. They're lying and bolstering numbers for the Democratic Party. They're part of that CIA operation. And dare I say, if you dive down the rabbit hole of Mark Zuckerberg, you will find out that his grandfather is former CIA. You will find out that he got the CIA award for the facial recognition software. Do you remember about a few years ago, every time you posted a photo, they would recommend the tags for you of the people in the photo?
You will also find that while he pushes a certain schedule, his children are not hokey pokey.
That's good.
So,
that's good.
Hello.
And his children don't have social media.
No.
He said on an interview that he would not allow his children ever to get on Meta. And I'm like, I wonder why.
Because he knows. He knows.
It's the same reason why Bill Gates, he's had several children. It's the same reason why he even said in his testimony that he refuses to give his children any of the vaccines.
He doesn't hokey-pokey them either.
He doesn't do it. Well, why is that? And then you run a foundation in India and in the country of Africa, or the continent of Africa, and you're hokey-pokeying all over that country, all over that continent.
Lock them up.
You know, so these people are guilty of genocide, misinformation, and causing people to not make sound medical judgment.
Right. Informed decisions. Inform them with accurate education, studies. And by the way, these vaccines that came out were not studied.
Yeah.
They were just pumped through. But yet
no.
you're using fear mongering, and these people think they're going to fall over in the streets like China.
Yeah.
And so they're just putting things in their body, hoping.
Because they were misinformed.
And then boostering 16 times.
Yeah, they were misinformed. And so with that being said, since we're talking about Mark Zuckerberg, he recently did an interview with Joe Rogan.
He got filleted.
And he got filleted, like completely destroyed in a nice way. Joe Rogan was asking questions, but really he was asking them for the benefit of the audience. And he was talking about Zuckerberg to his face. And before we get off this episode, we have got to play this quick segment where literally Zuckerberg confesses to the fact that Biden pushed privately. His people were contacting people at Meta to censor, violating our free speech amendment. So let's hear this, and then I want to show you some of the comment section. You got to see it. That's where the party's at.
Don't really understand too much about what SpaceX is trying to accomplish, but they're just reporting on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of the people I've met there, I think, are good people.
I'm sure
it's just a tough format.
It's
right?
a terrible format. Yeah, and the problem is they get locked into that format, and no one trusts them. And then they leave, and they go, yeah, but you were just lying to us about this, that, and the other thing, and now I'm supposed to believe you're one of the good guys.
Right.
You're one of the straight shooters now.
Yeah.
Well, getting back to the original point, this is why I think, it makes sense to me that the government didn't want you to succeed and to have the sort of unchecked power that they perceived social media to have. And I think one of the benefits that we have now of the Trump administration is that they have clearly felt the repercussions of a limited amount of free speech limitations, censorship, government overreach. If anybody saw it, look, I don't know what the actual impact of the Hunter Biden laptop story would have been. I don't know. But there's many people that think it probably amounted to millions of votes overall in the country of people that were on the fence.
Yeah, because Meta
people that weren't
censored
sure
all
who they're going to vote
information about
for.
that laptop.
If they found out the Hunter Biden laptop
so
was real, they're like, "Oh, this is
laptop.
fucking. The family's fucking crazy," and they would have voted for Trump.
Yeah.
That's possibly real. And if that's possibly real, that could be defined as election interference.
Absolutely.
And all that stuff scares the shit out of me. That kind of stuff scares the shit out of me. When the government gets involved in what could be termed election interference, but
they're always involved.
Don't Venezuela my America.
Yeah.
Whereas some
I don't think
interference,
that the pushing for social media companies to censor stuff was legal. I mean, it's like that's.
Right.
I mean, there's all this stuff about what, people talk about the First Amendment and okay, these tech platforms should offer free speech like the First Amendment. That I think is a philosophical principle. The First Amendment doesn't apply to companies.
No. It's not a philosophy.
Moderation. It's more of an American ethos
and you are
about
a town
how we
square.
think that
You cannot censor.
Best dialogue is carried out. But the First Amendment does apply to the government. That's like the whole point, right? Is the government is not allowed to
and to protect
censor
ours.
this stuff.
Yeah.
So at some level, I do think that having people in the administration calling up the guys on our team and yelling at them and cursing and threatening repercussions if we don't take down things that are true is it's pretty bad.
it sounds illegal. I would
Pretty
love
bad.
to hear it. I wish somebody recorded those
Show
conversations.
me the video.
Again, it's
Great to
I'd
listen
love
to.
to
Somebody can
hear it.
animate them, maybe Polytune.
A lot of the material is public. I mean, Jim Jordan led this whole investigation in
Yes,
he
Congress.
did.
I mean, it was basically
And you
I think
lied to
about this as
Congress,
like-
Zuckerberg.
what Elon did on the Twitter files when he took over that company. I think Jim Jordan basically did that for the rest of the industry with the congressional investigation that he did. And we just turned over like all of the documents and everything that we had to them, and they basically put together this report.
And the people that actually did call for censorship, what was their response to all this?
To what? To the investigation?
Yes.
I don't know.
Oh, you do know.
Was anybody held accountable? Was there any
Do tell.
I mean,
any repercussions?
they lost the election.
Yes. So that's it.
That's it.
Yeah,
Well, in a
the second
democracy, I mean,
time.
that's kind of right.
Not the first. You swayed it.
Right, but if what they did was illegal, do you not think that some steps should be put in place to make sure that people are punished for
I
that?
love that
and
he's
that never
asking him
happens
this
again?
question.
It seems that has a massive impact on the way our country goes.
Massive.
If that's election interference, and I think it is, that has a massive impact on the direction of our country.
Preach.
Yeah, well, the COVID thing I don't think was election interference as much as it was just like government meddling where it shouldn't have. But yeah, no, I mean,
I'm talking about the Hunter Biden laptop
tougher for me to say, like what specific
Mark's like, how do we end this?
Retribution or justice should happen to anyone who is involved in these things. But I think your point
because
about
you're guilty.
Let's make sure this doesn't happen again.
You're being implicated here, Zuckerberg. He's literally implicating
the one
you.
that I'm more focused on, right? Because it's the thing that I reflect on my journey on all this, which is like, okay, yeah, so we didn't take down the stuff that was true, but we did
hit it.
Generally defer to the government on some of these policies.
We lowered the reach. We lowered the algorithm.
I probably wouldn't, knowing what I know now. And and I just think that's sort of the journey that we've been on. Is like, okay, we start the thing focused on free expression, go through some like pretty crazy times in the world, get it pressure tested, see where we basically ended up doing stuff that led to a slippery slope that we weren't happy with the conclusion, and like try to reset. And that's sort of the moment that we're at now, is trying to just rationalize a bunch of the policies. And look, obviously crazy things can happen in the future that might unearth something that I haven't, some kind of angle on this that I haven't
grow up
thought enough about yet. So I don't know. I'm sure I'm not done making mistakes in the world, but I think at this point we have a much more thorough understanding of what the space is. And I think our kind of values and principles on this are likely going to be much more durable going forward.
The administration changes.
And I think that's probably a good thing for the internet.
I think it's a great thing for the internet. I was very happy with your announcement. I'm very happy that you took those steps. I'm very happy you brought Dana White aboard.
Oh, he's awesome. Been talking to him for a while about that. I mean, he's like talking.
So yeah, that was just a little excerpt from the 2-hour Joe Rogan interview, and I will put a link in the comments on this stream. You've got to listen to the whole thing. There is a little bit of language, so I'll go ahead and preface that. Yeah. That he does drop the F-bomb a few times. Joe Rogan's notorious for that, but it is worth listening because you got to understand that the platforms that we're on, they're not free speech, and
the people know it because the comment section, like you said, is where the party was at.
Yeah, so before we go, we've just got to read a few of these comments. They are crazy, but they're spot on. I mean, they literally, it's the temperature of what society actually feels. And I think we are beginning to see that these social media elites, these oligarchs, these people that work in Silicon Valley, they don't understand because they're in a bubble.
Yeah.
And even specifically people in California, if you meet people from California, they live in a bubble.
It's true.
Because they don't understand what the East Coast and the Midwest truly feels, what really Americans feel. And so these elites just think, hey, everybody wants censorship. We don't want to talk about politics. We don't want to talk about, medical options that could be alternative to the mainstream American, medical association. Mm-hmm. No, we want information. We want truth. So some of these comments they're crazy. So one of them, used to be ugly, said, Mark is not a victim. He's a perpetrator. Listening to him distance himself from the mass censorship instead of taking accountability is why this won't work as a mea culpa. So, he literally is backpedaling. He's not taking accountability like he should. And then right below this comment, Puma Fist said, he's backpedaling so hard, he could stop a Flintstones car from rolling down Mount Everest.
What I love, though, is people are not only awake, they're speaking out, they're speaking up. Even if it's just in the comment section. You can tell, though, because they are rapid fire, all on the same, just letting them have it.
Yeah. Chan Sevagen 1328 says, give me a break. This guy is clearly nervous and so full of BS, trying to pretend his platform never censored the right side in waves. Had the Democrats stayed in power, not only would he be singing a different tune, he wouldn't even be on the Joe Rogan podcast.
True.
Yeah, and so many people commented about his appearance because if you look before, a few years prior, he had this short haircut. He didn't have eyebrows. He looked like a robot, very gaunt looking, always in a suit and tie. And then all of a sudden, he's growing his hair out and he's saying bro and dude.
Listen, he said in the podcast that he was an archer. He does bow.
Yeah.
Then Joe Rogan starts to ask him questions. He didn't even know any answers. He was like, like, what type of boat do you have? He's like, do you know the brand? He's like, no. He's like, is it an old one? He's like, no, it's recent in years. I'm like, oh my goodness, this guy is such a fraud. Stop faking it, bro.
Such a chameleon. Now that the shifts have happened in American society and we've taken over power, he's trying to be all cool to free speech. And now there was an article that came out on CNN that he wants mainstream media and corporations to embrace masculinity.
Okay. Now that we've stomped on men, let's embrace them.
Yeah. Now that we have told our younger children that there's 95 genders and that masculine men are toxic, now let's flip the roles.
Yeah.
Listen, Zuckerberg, you're not fooling anybody. You're a lifelong Democrat. You're a lifelong CIA-controlled puppet. We are not fooled, okay? And nobody is fooled. These comments are hitting back hard. Kareth said he would never backtrack on censorship if Kamala Harris had won.
True.
Yeah. Okay. And another comment said, Zuck looks like an undercover cop inside a street gang.
People are so funny.
Oh, the internet wins every time.
Yes.
Another comment said, Mark in 2024, do you censor on Facebook? Heck no. Mark in 2025, we will not censor Facebook anymore.
Yeah.
Basically saying that they censored people. Another comment said, Mark, you were silencing doctors, top in their field doctors, not just average citizens.
They were so good.
Another guy below this said, I just got suspended for saying natural immunity exists during the pandemic.
I was in hot water too.
Yeah.
We both were.
Yeah, just by saying comments like that.
Yeah.
And then I love this guy. Cinema Cola 6398 said, dude looks like Justin Timberlake in his NSYNC days. With the curly hair. The broccoli hair. Mars Booth 7111 said, I was permanently banned from Facebook and I had no recourse. It was an anonymous report against my profile. I was given no opportunity to present my side. Yeah, it's Cap and FapN said, just tried posting a COVID meme and got fact checked yet again. And I personally
he's got new systems in place.
Oh, yeah.
He's got new systems
well, it's gonna take
and no
time.
More mistakes.
He said it's going to take time to roll these things out.
Right.
Well, Zuckerberg, I just got fact checked when several of my videos about the wildfires and my theories on what's really happening.
They weren't wild. They're just fires.
Yeah. They were just fires that were set by arsonists and by weather modification and HARP and all this other stuff.
We ain't got enough time for that today.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that on the next episode. So stay tuned for our next episode where we dive into what's really happening with the California wildfires. We'll see you next time.
See you there.